You know, I hear many people, talking about the idea that God's not unnecessary or God doesn't exist. And very often they'll give you a lot of rational reasons why they think that that's, the case. And all the while, whilst they're coming up with all these reasons and this rationale and all these other maybe sort of scientific or logical reasons for thinking so, they're always doing so whilst they're looking outside. In other words, they're always doing this whilst they're looking at the outside world and making judgments about God looking at the outside world. And to the point where it's like they're missing a step in the equation. And I'm going to explain what that step is, because to me it's very obvious. Is that before you get to the point of asking about whether God is necessary out there, you first need to understand who it is or what it is that you actually are. And I don't think that you can do that. I think when you get up close and personal and you ask the questions, you can't actually fully understand who you are. And for that reason, the point of you asking whether it is necessary for God to exist or not is missing the point. It's like you need to go back further to the source of what's experiencing the reality around you, because that's you. Without your observation, none of this exists. And if you spend enough time thinking about these things, and enough time thinking about what I just said to you, that without your observation, none of this exists, you should reach a point in your evolution, or growth, or whatever other label you wish to attach to it, where you start to realise, or feel, more importantly, that everything around you isn't really separate from you. You start to feel you in everything. And when you start to feel you in everything, a very different kind of shift takes place inside your mind, transformationally. You start to look at the world as a continuous transaction of you that's feedbacking to you and you inputting into. And so the idea that God doesn't exist then becomes a ludicrous proposition. Because the argument that God doesn't exist is the same as saying that you don't exist. Because you are God. And I don't mean in some grandiose, glorified way. I mean in the sense that without you being the observer, the participant in this story that you call your life, that you visualize and experience through your 5 senses or 6 senses, if you like, none of it exists. So I think many people, whilst scientists, very eminent scientists, very well-respected academics are asking all these very logical, rational, quantum physics-related questions about God, they're trying very hard to quantify or distill down arguments for why God is necessary or unnecessary. But they're missing the point. God is always going to be necessary because they are the ones making the observation. These people are the ones making the observation. Without their observation, there is no question in the first place. You can't ask or ponder on the idea of whether God's necessary or not unless you are an existence capable of doing that. And the only way you can be capable of doing that is by observing and experiencing the world around you. And the only way you can do that is because you do. And the only reason that you're doing that is because you're the creator of all of it. Do you see what I'm saying?